Hey guys, it's John from Marco Learning. In this video, I'm going to walk you through all 7 prompts of the Common App personal statement for the 2020-2021 admission cycle. The good news about this is that these are the exact same prompts as last year. So if you're looking at any material that describes the 2019-2020 admission cycle, the rules are the same, the language is exactly the same. Let's take a look at this first prompt. It says, some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent so meaningful that they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, please share your story. So a few things I want you to notice about this are the range of words that they've given you. They talk about a background, an identity, an interest, or a talent. So that's 4 totally different things, and if you talk about any of them, that's perfectly relevant for this prompt. What it needs to be is something that's meaningful for you, something that tells me about you as a person. So notice it says, please share your story. And this is really important. They often prefer essays that tell a story that's your story, that's about you. This is the hardest thing about personal statements, guys. You're writing about yourself. You're not writing about the Great Gatsby. You're not writing about the history of labor movements in the late 1800s. You're talking about yourself and your story, and you've only got 650 words to do it. So think about a small enough story that you can tell that will reveal something about your background, identity, interest, or talent. A lot of these prompts are really wide open. They're here for you to talk about whatever you want to talk about. You have lots of freedom as you write. So number 1 is a great example of a prompt that you can use as a springboard to talk about yourself well. Let's take a look at number 2. This is a very common one, but it's also very tricky. It says the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you? And what did you learn from the experience? So they kind of packed in several different questions. Let's go part by part. It says, the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. So it starts with this observation. Then it says, recount a time when, so they want you to tell a story, to recount, a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. And those are variations on the same thing. Some negative experience, some obstacle, which is the word they used here at the beginning. So the challenge of this essay is this. If you choose to write about a failure or an obstacle or a challenge or a setback, you could get stuck in a really negative essay. You got 650 words. If you spend 550 of them on the saddest things that have ever happened to you, on the biggest challenges you've faced, you're gonna miss the second part of this question. These obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. What did you learn from this experience? How are you better as a result of these obstacles and challenges? So here's my advice. If you're gonna answer number 2, be careful about piling up every bad thing that's ever happened to you, and be careful about spending 500 words on the negative part. Get out of the negative part of the story and get to the positive part, the better you, the stronger you, the more independent you that emerged from this experience. That's what college admissions officers want to know about. So 1 paragraph dedicated to this says recount a time when you faced a challenge, 1 paragraph focused on the challenge, setback, or failure, and the rest of the essay about what you learned and how you're better as a result. That will make question 2 work to your advantage rather than hold you back. Let's take a look at number 3. It says, reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea. What prompted your thinking? What was the outcome? And this is another one that's got some red flags on it, right? If question 2 is a prompt that you could get too negative with, question 3 is one that you can get too controversial with. A lot of you really like questioning or challenging beliefs or ideas. You can think of a teacher or a parent or somebody that you were arguing against. Be sensitive to the fact that beliefs and ideas are often held as very sacred things to people. If you're going to go on a political rant or talk about sensitive topics of religion and philosophy, think about how your reader might experience that. Think about how if you spend the whole time talking about how terrible that belief or idea is, or how any of those people who believe in that thing that you disagree with, how they're all bad people, what if your reader's one of those people? We're a very diverse society. We have 350 million people in this country, so you want to make sure that when you're talking about sensitive topics, you treat them sensitively. And also, don't write about a belief or idea that's 3 miles from you. Write about what you care about. So I'm not saying you can't talk about politics, religion, and philosophy. I'm saying be sensitive as you write and reveal something about yourself, not about other people. It's a huge trap with these essays. People get wrapped up in the idea, and I read a really great treatise on the idea. Or they get wrapped up in talking about other people, and I learn about the other person, I don't learn about you. So what's the story that you can tell in question number 3? Prompt number 4 is a really great example of how broad the language of these prompts can be. It says, describe a problem you've solved or a problem you'd like to solve. It can be an intellectual challenge. It could be a research query, an ethical dilemma, anything of personal importance, no matter the scale. Explain its significance to you and what steps you took or could be taken to identify a solution. I think this is a really tough one to write about because certainly a problem you'd like to solve leaves you without the actual doing, the actual solution. So, they've tried to broaden this prompt out, but I think it is a little bit risky to be talking about hypothetical problems that you've actually done nothing to solve. But again, they've made it really broad here. It can be an intellectual challenge, a research query, an ethical dilemma. If you're talking about a research query, be careful about telling me about your lab experience and dramatizing what it was like for you to volunteer in a lab for a few hours, or a very narrow problem you didn't spend a lot of time with. Also, be careful with number 4 that it doesn't turn into a resume essay. This is the thing, guys, this is a personal statement, not a professional statement. And a lot of parents who are advising their kids on this, or older people like me who talk to young people about these statements, we end up turning them into job descriptions, resumes, and very kind of old people stories about the professional work you did. Don't do that. Speak in your own voice about a problem that you care about, and maybe some steps you took. And it said, no matter the scale. Look at that phrase. That's really important. If it says, no matter the scale, it doesn't have to be global warming or climate change. It could be something more narrow in your own community, in your own house. Maybe people were just being really messy about the dishes, and you helped come up with a system for your siblings and you to do the dishes in turn. Any small scale thing can fit in this prompt, but again, make sure that it reveals something that is of personal importance to you, something you actually care about. Prompt number 5 says, discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization. Again, these little lists in the Common App prompts, 3 different things: an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth, vague, or a new understanding of yourself, vague, or others. Pretty vague, right? So number 5 is another one of these wide open prompts, an accomplishment, event, or realization. If we lined up all these nouns, right? Background, identity, interest, or talent, that was in number 1. We have obstacle, challenge, setback, or failure, that's in number 2. Belief or idea that you questioned or challenged, that's in number 3. Number 4 talked about an intellectual challenge, research query, ethical dilemma, and problems and solutions. And number 5 is an accomplishment, event, or realization. So they're really giving you guys all the room in the world. I want to encourage you, there's not one formula or even 5 or 10 formulas for how to write an essay. The essay you write should be the story that you can tell, the story you care about, that's really authentically about you. If you do that, there's definitely room in these prompts for you to do it. And wait till we get to number 7, it's wide open. So I think with number 5, it's a pretty wide open prompt. You can fit in anything. A realization lets you stay in your own head a little bit. Make sure that it doesn't get too intellectual and disconnected from you as a person. So I've warned you about being too professional. I've warned you about being too philosophical. Let's take a look at 6. It says, describe a topic, idea, or concept. So 3 more words we can add to our list that you find so engaging, it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it captivate you? What or who do you turn to when you want to learn more? So what's an idea you get lost in? It could be an academic subject in which your essay might become kind of a school essay, or it could be something else. I mean, the true story for most of you is TikTok, right? You just like disappear into it for 3 hours. Don't write about that. Write about something that is intellectual and that really gets you excited. You could spend 3 or 4 hours on Wikipedia just clicking on, the Wikipedia wormhole you get lost in, or you start watching Netflix documentaries, or you start learning about it and you don't even realize you're learning. That's the subject they want you to talk about. It could be very revealing about your intellectual curiosity, what you're really passionate about. Number 7 is so wide open, they say share an essay on any topic of your choice. It can be one you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own design. I think this is actually so broad it's almost useless. I think you're stronger and you're in a better position if you work with one of the 6 that we've already looked at. And again, I've warned you about numbers 2 and 3. You don't want to get too negative. I warned you about number 4 and number 6. You can get a little bit too philosophical, a little too professional. The important thing to remember is that this is your personal statement. This is your chance to speak directly to the college admissions officers and reveal who you are. So no matter which of these 6 prompts you pick, what matters is that you're telling your story, the story that only you can tell, that one that you want to tell, that's honest on your application, and that will help you stand out in your Common application. If you want to write a great Common App essay, click on the link in the description to download our free guide to the personal statement. It'll give you everything you need to get started on writing a great essay.